So I don't know if this is real or not, but I feel like I am really in touch with my nervous system and I can almost can control it.
Does that seem interesting to you? Yes. If you watch this video to the end, you're going to learn how to use temperature in your shower plus your breath to create a greater sense of control in your nervous system, giving you a sense of power back over unpleasant sensations and unwanted experiences in your mind and body. Stick around. Hello, YouTube community. If you are interested in learning how to rewrite shock and how it lives in your body, you're going to want to stick around for this interview because we're going to be talking to Jill. She and I accidentally discovered a technique together that you can learn how to do yourself and take back a sense of control, agency, and power in your own life and in the unpleasant body sensations you might be experiencing. So I'm so excited to introduce my friend, former patient, fellow human adventurer through life, Jill. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm really excited to be having this conversation because I feel like on some level, you and I are going back in time and rediscovering penicillin together. Because penicillin was this accidental discovery that led to really great things.
Mm-hmm.
And I taught you a technique, a little spin-off on the cold shower. And my experience was that you took it and ran with it and started having results that I wasn't anticipating you to have.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started doing what you had been doing, and I'm seeing very similar results. And so I want to talk today about kind of your journey, where you started, what we did, and where you're at now. Does that sound all right?
Sure.
Okay. So first of all, why did you and I start working together? What were the symptoms that were in your world that had you come to see me, and why were they there?
So I got a concussion about 3 years ago, and then the vestibular PT that I was seeing, I told her some of the things that I was experiencing, and some of those things were anxiety and just having meltdowns and just sort of losing this kind of control that I had never experienced before. And so she recommended getting in touch with you. And I was sort of skeptical at the beginning because I'd never experienced this kind of anxiety before, and I'd never gone through this kind of therapy before. And so it's kind of outside the norm of what you think of physical therapy PT is. So that's how I ended up coming across you.
Yeah. So it sounds like you had some anxiety, and your nervous system was leading to some emotional dysregulation, meltdowns. Somebody said, hey, this person might have a solution. You weren't sure, but because you wanted to feel better, you were willing to try it.
Well, and I really trusted the PT that I was seeing, and because she was helping me a lot with the concussion issues that I was having. And she was the first person that really understood what I was going through and I'd travel a long ways to see her. And I just was, so I had this real trust from of her on what she recommended, because she had helped me so much. And she was actually someone who was like, yeah, I know what you're going through. We can help you. We can get you better. And so that was really helpful to have that kind of recommendation.
It sounds like trust was a key ingredient to step outside your comfort zone. It's kind of like the fuel that gave you the courage to do something different.
Well, because the other things that I had been told, like, well, there's nothing else we can do for you from other practitioners. There's nothing else we can help you with. Go see your neurologist. Maybe you just need to pursue the drug end of things. And that just didn't sound right to me. It's one of those things where I knew I kind of had to keep digging.
Mm-hmm.
We had to keep, my husband and I we just need to keep asking questions, keep pursuing it, not just falter to the drug part.
Sounds like it was important to you to not go to drugs and also to find a way to get you back to a life that was meaningful, fulfilling, and on point for you.
Yeah.
What was the anxiety and the emotional dysregulation stopping you from doing? How was it getting in the way of your life?
Well, okay, so it's really kind of embarrassing in one sense to all of a sudden experience this meltdown in front of other people. Because things would just start coming into my brain and I just felt like a spiral out of control. And I would my breathing would go faster. I could definitely tell my heart rate was up. And I just couldn't, it was weird. I couldn't cope. It was something I'd never experienced before. And so it kind of made me not want to go do things with other people, to keep myself out of those kind of situations that I could totally have handled in the past.
So it sounds like there's a social component to it. Like I can't and don't want to be around other people and do activities around other people because I don't have control over my own nervous system and it's very unpredictable. And when it decides to make a show, it's a show and it's embarrassing for me.
Yeah. And it was totally unpredictable because as long as I could just sort of keep things at my speed and at my parameters, I'd be fine. But as soon as other factors were thrown in there where I kind of felt like I didn't have the control, I couldn't just like roll with things. I couldn't just, if someone said, and it happened mostly with biking or if we were out shopping, having to make decisions. And it was just because I didn't know what would happen, when it would happen.
So there's this like anticipatory fear of I don't have control over this nervous system inside of me. And in order to take back a sense of control, it was just pull away from life activities like going to restaurants, being on a bike, going shopping, making decisions out in public.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a big deal. And a few months into our time together, I had this idea to make a kind of crazy recommendation to you. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Tell me your recollection of how that conversation went.
Well, okay. So you've given me a lot of good tools and I keep them written down in this little notebook that I can keep after every appointment that we have. I write stuff down. So I kind of run through those things, but then you're like, hey, why don't you try a cold shower? And I was like, yeah, nobody likes a cold shower. But I was willing to give it a try because I'm at that point in my life where, I want to get over this concussion thing. And I'm tired of having it kind of determine what I do. And so I'm really willing to try about anything. So.
And I saw in you a very similar thing that happens for a lot of people when I throw out the word cold shower. There's this instant guard that goes up, this stiffness, this rigidity, because a cold shower is a shock to the nervous system. Yeah. And the body has a preconditioned response to shock.
Yeah.
And that's what I remember when I first told you, hey, what do you think about a cold shower? It's like this instant body. Nope, don't want to do it. That's my shock response and the conversation.
Well, walking into a cold lake or pool or something, it's always that. It's a shock because right away when you say cold shower, I know what my body's going to want to do.
Right. And so what we then talked about was troubleshooting to get your body to maybe do something different than its original shock response program. Mm-hmm. Talk me through what you remember, how I gave you instructions to troubleshoot that.
Okay. So you just said don't go drastic right away. Just ease into it, just a little bit, like make it lukewarm. And then the next time, maybe make it a little more. And I can't remember exactly, but this is what I ended up doing. I would just keep bumping over more to the cold in the shower. And I started noticing, so I after not very long, couple weeks, I started noticing, because you always have that in deep, like quick inhale, like this is cold, but my body was starting to adapt, and I was really starting to feel my nervous system like kind of like stop and start. Like I was able to control it. And I was preventing it from making that big gasp and that big jump. And that really carried over into everyday kinds of things where I was like, oh, that's what my nervous system, it was just like this start, stop, start, stop. And you had said something about learning how to drive with the manual transmission, how you're like, you're kind of doing that surge ahead.
It's glitchy, right? Like the gas, brake, clutch transition isn't smooth.
Yeah. And so I was really started to notice. And so, I mean, how do you control your nervous system? For me, it became a good breathing. So I was able to really control my breathing, slow inhale. And I could feel my nervous system like kind of, I don't know how to really describe it, but I could feel it wanting to just take off, and I wasn't letting it. And then in the showers, my body would adjust to the cold. I'd make it a little colder. And so it could be over the course of just one shower, or it could be over the course of a few weeks of making it colder. Gradually I could get to the cold quicker, and just taking those breaths to not let my nervous system just start to spiral. And so I was able to then apply that. I could feel it then during the day. If I had some kind of something causing me to feel overwhelmed, I could use my breath because I knew what was happening. And I knew that my nervous system was starting to ramp up. I'm like, nope, I'm not going to do that. And so I was able to, because I've used settling, and I've used, when we're out biking, my husband will like stand and push down on my shoulders. And sometimes that is helpful, but I really need to stop things from ramping up from internally in my nervous system.
So it sounds like you got to know your body's default response to shock or stress or overwhelm. And once you knew the body's innate reaction, you could spot it early and redirect, and in effect take back control, because you recognize the little fire and put it out instead of it growing up into a big fire.
Yeah. And I think the cold water, because it's not like it is a stressful thing, but it's different than if you're out somewhere being overwhelmed, but the reaction is sort of the same. And I started to recognize that.
It also sounds like you learned how to have a greater sense of control over your nervous system in a very predictable environment where you had a lot of say in what was happening. When do I turn the water down? How much do I turn the water down? How long do I turn it down? So you had a lot of agency, a lot of control, and it was very predictable.
Yeah.
And then as you retrained your nervous system in that predictable environment, it carried over to the external unpredictable environment with people and cars and bikes and menus and messed up unexpected things.
Yeah. And now it's kind of weird, but now it's like super comforting. It's like, you've talked before about putting a heavy blanket on, or, kind of snuggling up that way. And now sometimes it just like a cold shower is almost like a comforting, heavy blanket. It feels really good. And even I'll just take sometimes a cold washcloth and put it on my face, because that, if you just take cold water and bam on your face, that's like ugh, kind of thing. But now even just doing that it feels good. And I never thought that would I never thought that would happen. But it's kind of crazy how it's comforting in a sense. It really is just like this. It just brings everything just down.
It really is credible evidence that anything can change. Things that you didn't think were possible could become possible. And it sounds like, in a way, you learned how to become a very compassionate firefighter to the internal fires that were responding, right? Like nervous system's out of control. It's embarrassing. It's unpredictable. It's like a raging out of control forest fire.
Yeah.
And you learned to soothe it with water at a pace that works for you. And it's like, it evokes a relaxation response, because ultimately you are relaxing your system in a way that you've trained and built in and works for you.
Yeah. And I don't just walk into a cold shower, I ease into it. It's not like I'm turning on cold and I'm going in. It's not like that at all. It's easing into it and getting to a point where it becomes a relaxing kind of thing, just it's hard to describe, because it really does relax me. And
well, it sounds like you're not forcing or pushing or shoulding. It's an invitation with respect and compassion and patience and allowing. When I'm ready, we'll just put a toe in and then another toe and another toe. And in a way, it builds a relationship between you and your nervous system that's very trusting.
Yeah. And there's some days where I'm like, I don't want to do cold water, And it might be I only get into the cold water a couple times a week.
Yeah.
And then because some days you're just like, I'm not feeling it today.
So talk to me about the difference this makes for you in your life. How are you now with social activities, with bikes, riding bikes, restaurants, things like that?
It's just improved in a lot of ways. It's because I recognize when my nervous system is starting to kind of ramp up a little bit. I recognize it. So I can, with my breath, because that's what I do in the shower, I'm able to, it's slow inhale, slow exhale, and I can just stop the spiral effect. And it's helped a lot. So when I'm out on my bike and I'm just, having a whatever kind of day or a rough day, or because every day is different. Some days are better than others. And if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I can just kind of stop and I can slow everything down and I can take some deep breaths. And, and I ride with friends who get it, who they understand the things that I have gone through, and they don't care, they're fine to take a break. And so it just has really helped me to, even being out, like driving in traffic or being at the grocery store where there's like too many decisions and I can't find what I'm looking for on the shelf. I don't get panicked about it, which I did in the past, and it was just overwhelming. And now I feel that in my nervous system, and I'm able to pull it back down.
It's kind of like a gas light on the car tells you go get gas. You have a new internal gas light that tells you to change behavior, and then you get a different result.
Yeah. Yeah. So and I, incorporate it with a lot of the different tools that you've given me, because I try to read through those things. And I even take this little book when I go out of town, because I just don't remember, because there's stretches that you've given me, and there's other things that we've talked about with looking up with our eyes. And, there's a lot of things. There's just so much to remember that I don't. And so I just sort of carry this little book with me everywhere to use the different tools throughout the day as I need them. So, and I've improved so much. It's not like I need this stuff every single day. It's just my pattern still is, I'll be great for a week or two, And then all of a sudden I'll start having problems. So then I need to get back to the basics. And then I'm for a few days, I'm struggling. And then I'm good for a few weeks. So
That's
it
great.
all kind of comes, it all meshes really well.
Awesome. 2 final question thoughts. Number 1, where and how, if at all, has headaches been a part of your journey?
I've had a lot of headaches to like daily. I'm doing a lot better now. And a part of that is heart rate related. So sometimes that's not really controllable, but I don't get the headaches anymore so much when things are overwhelming, because that would also trigger a headache. So I think that controlling the nervous system has at least eliminated a lot of them.
So would you say cold showers were a part of your headaches getting better, or not so much?
Probably played a part. It's just been a process. It's almost hard to know what has helped the most, but because I really do have a couple different things going on between a higher heart rate causing headaches and then just too much around me, too much stimulation going on that can cause a headache. But where I've been able to then slow things down on my own without having to like go home, or I've been able to, I think it's probably helped with, it's just always hard to put a finger on what exactly does cause, helps every day, every time, but it's easy. The nervous system, pulling it back, not letting it ramp up.
It seems like it's been a key ingredient, and there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle.
Yeah.
What would you want to tell somebody else in your past shoes, or what would you want to know in your former shoes? Cold shower. Should I do it? Should I not? Is it worth it? I don't want to do it. What would you tell yourself?
Well, like you have shared with me a lot of times, it's like, well, did you die? No, I didn't die, Renee. It's just worth it, because you can even just start with just cool water. If you're hitting summer, it's like we're hot and sweaty, and you just go take a nice cool shower and then warm it up if you're like, oh, I hate this, it's cold. But just keep trying it, because I don't know, my body adjusted, and it wasn't an overnight thing. It took probably a month of not, you don't have to do it every single day, but like every other day or something, and even for just a minute or 30 seconds, and just slowly easing into it. And now I'll just stand there and go like, oh, this feels so good. And it's not a stressful thing, because at first it was stressful.
Yeah.
And it was, but you know what? It's been a long journey for me with the concussion, and just just ready to be well, 100% well. And so I'm pretty much willing to try pretty much anything that's outside of drugs, because I don't really want to go down a road of, I'm trying to get off headache medicine. I'm not trying to add more stuff in necessarily.
Yeah.
And I'm very, what's the word when you're very affected by drugs?
Sensitive. You have a sensitive system
to drugs. And so I don't like the side effects that I get with them.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, it's worth trying. Like, why not? You have nothing to lose other than it doesn't work for you, and maybe it won't work for everybody, but it's been a really good key for me in the last, I don't remember how long ago we started doing this, 4 months ago, 6 months ago. I can't
like that, 4 or 5 months. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was surprising that, and I've loved how you've been like, just try it. I mean, I'm making this up on the spot. Let's try it.
All right, Jill, thank you so much, folks. Run an experiment. Give it a try. It won't kill you. It might make you uncomfortable. That will end, and you might get a whole bunch of results that you weren't expecting. Stay with it and stay tuned for more good exercises. Thank you so much, Jill.
Yep. Thank you.
And that's what can happen for you when you do something different and you try something new. Unexpected things can occur that can work for you and be good to you. My name's Dr. Renee Ostertag. If you watch this to the end, way to go, you. I wish and hope good things for you. They are available. If you'd like to work together, I'd love to work with you. We can at least have a free consult and see if it's a good fit. If not, maybe you'll consider liking the channel and subscribing and sharing it with those you know, because that's sort of helpful stuff for me. And if you just would rather not have anything to do with this silliness, go away forever and know that you're loved anyway. Have a good day, and may the cold forces of greatness be with you.